All right. Well, let's go ahead and we're going to get started, ladies. And if somebody else joins us, great. Okay. So, part 4 today. So, we are going to continue to build off of the CMA that we did the analysis. We did the thought process behind picking the comps first. Then we put the comps together into an analysis that resulted in a price point. Then we created a cloud CMA using one of the tools that you can use to be able to present your CMA to people. And then we also created, and we at least viewed, we didn't get to the point where I showed you how to create, but we did the exact same thing in Moxi, and I showed to you the output of a Moxi presentation, CMA presentation in Moxi. So now we're going to go back. I'm going to show you that output again, and also at the same time, we're going to go in and we're going to actually go through the mechanics of creating it in Moxi using some of the same methodologies that we used up until this point. Make sense? Okay, so we are going to be working in Moxi Present today. So before I do that, for those of you that may not have been in the previous 3 sessions, I'm just going to do a real quick overview and show you what we've done up until this point. Okay. All right. So the home that we are have been doing this for is this one. As you recall, this is a home out in Stone Mountain that I sold to a client several years back, and he has contacted me, and I was supposed to go tomorrow now. We've rescheduled this to a listing appointment in his house because he's ready to go again. This is what the house actually looks like back in the day. Stone Mountain, it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, brick, 4-sided brick in a nice subdivision called the Gates of Southland, I believe. And we're just going to kind of look through. He's done quite a bit from what I understand. He's upgraded flooring in the downstairs. He's upgraded flooring in the upstairs. He's done a bunch of landscaping on the exterior. I haven't seen it yet, but I'll know more after I see it. But it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, built in 2001 on 2/10 of an acre, and we got it for $216 with $5,000 in seller paid closing cost assistance. Okay. So let me show you how far we got the last time. So we are going to be working in Present. So hopefully if y'all haven't figured this out, I see several of you still going to in order to get to your Moxi, you are going through your 21 Online, and you think you have to go through 21 Online and Productivity Hub every time to be able to get to it. I'm going to tell you, little secret, all you have to do is bookmark it. Notice I've got a bookmark right here at the top of in my bookmarks bar. You do not have to go through 21 Online every single time in order to be able to get to your Moxi. Except for, I think I literally just closed it down and I didn't mean to. So I'm going to reopen. Bear with me. And so I'm going to go to Moxi Present across the top. And now you'll notice I have 3 versions of the exact same presentation. You know, it looks like it's the exact same presentation, but it's a little bit differently. So this one, if you notice, is kind of went off the page there, but I have 3 different versions of this. I have the comps only, so I'm only presenting comparables. And this one is my full version of all of the slides. And this is the pre-listing version, which has no comps in it. So based off of the presentation that I'm doing to the client, say I get there and I walk in the door and the guy tells me, I'm really limited on time. I've only got about an hour before I have to leave to go pick up my kids. Then I'm probably not going to do the 56-page slide version of this. I'm probably going to do my comps only slide version of this. So it's nice to have a little bit of flexibility to how you want to present this. So just for the sake of grins and giggles, I'm going to show you what the output of what we're about to do is going to look like. So you create your presentation, you pull it up on your screen as you sit down, and it gives you this nice digital presentation for you to walk through. And we start off with some information about Century 21. I'm all ears. Why are we here? When would you like to move? Determining some basic information. And it's just these are slides to go through with talking points for you to be able to walk through with your client. Okay. One of the things that I really like about going through this presentation in this way, notice the little, the 3 bars, I guess they call it a hamburger. If you want to snap to a particular slide, this is the best way to do it. Say you're talking to somebody and you're on, one of these slides and he goes, well, what can I expect from you? What is your marketing plan? And you go, gee, I want to snap right to that page. Here's my 21-step marketing plan. I just skipped over all the other pages instead of looking like I'm paging through. It's just easy to snap to each one of these. Say, for example, he gets to, I'm getting the reading from the client that he's just really impatient, doesn't want to deal with all the fluff. I can snap right to and go straight to the property summary and start presenting the comps only, which is the next slide. Okay, so you got a nice pretty view of the comps. Your main property is here. And then you can start walking through the comparables and you can look at the photographs. Really nice way to present a listing presentation. Do y'all agree? Looks great. All right, let's create this thing. All right, so we're seeing the output of what it looks like. Let's actually create one ourselves. All right, so here's where we're going to start. I've already got 3 of them, but I'm going to go up here to create new, and I'm going to just simply walk through the menus. So you've got 2 different options. You've got for sellers, you've got 2 different options. You've got a seller, which is a full presentation, and a property review. I'm not sure what the difference between a property review is, other than maybe it doesn't give you a listing price at the end, but we're going to do one for a seller, and I'm just going to walk through. Now, here's where it gets a little interesting, and it's going to ask you, do you want to use a template? So notice I created 3 of these because I wanted to create 3 templates. And here's where you choose where they're coming from. Of course, you can create your own templates. You can use brokerage templates, or you can use Century 21 templates. Obviously, we're going to go to Century 21, and we're going to look at some of these presentations that have already been pre-built for us. So here's one that's commercial. Fine homes and equestrian is a luxury presentation. Generally speaking, the vast majority of us are probably going to use this residential listing presentation that has this 56 pages in it. Continue. By the way, you don't have to use all of those pages. And we're just going to call this a test. Okay, and I'm going to use FMLS, but if I wanted to use Georgia MLS, if this property that I happen to be looking at was in McDonough and there weren't any good comps in FMLS, I could switch it to Georgia MLS. But in this case, FMLS is good. Okay, and I'm going to hit create. And there's stuff happening in the background. Give it just a second. While the wheels are spinning, does anybody have any questions up until this point? Okay. All right. So this brings up an entire new menu box. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to tell it what our subject property is that we're comparing everything to, right? So the beauty of this is my, and one way to get your subject properties basic information is you could all, of course, just sit here and type it in. But if it was in MLS, you can copy it. So remember, we had our previous listing in MLS was back in, what was this, back in 2017 timeframe? I'm going to use that MLS number, cut, and I'm going to paste it right here. And I'm going to see what all they have. Gosh, look at that. So it goes back into the MLS. It looked at the previous information. It even copied over one of the cover photos for me. Pretty sweet, right? Love this. This is great. This is where you would go through, validate any of the, any information in here, make sure the schools are correct. If the square footage was inaccurate, you could change it. You could change this from 8,700 square feet to, I like acres, 0.2 is better. You could change any of this information, but basically, this is your baseline of information. Now, we are going to go and here's where you would either pick your comps or outline what comps you're going to use. Okay, so remember when we went through this process and we looked at other properties that were similar in FMLS and we chose our comps? Here's where you could do exactly the same process. Okay, so when it defaults to searching for properties near that location. All right, so you can here go through and it's going to select properties that are similar to your property based off of the criteria. Okay, and you then can pick, I want to use that one, I want to use this one. I'm not sure if I want to use this magnolia. Let's look at the details of it. You can look right here under the details tab. And you can go, do I want to use this one or not? And go through the information and you can then make your decision whether or not you pick it or not. Okay. So, however, remember, we had already picked our comps from before. We already knew what our comps were from FMLS. So notice you could toggle up here at the top. I already have my list of comps that I wanted to use. So I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to select MLS. And y'all know how you do the, here's one I baked before. Now you see that on cooking shows on TV. I just copied all of my MLS numbers over so that I would know what I was doing. And here I'm going to paste them right there. And now it's only going to pick the same homes that I had picked before. Okay, you remember how we had picked all of those previous comps in the last 3 sessions. So I know I want to use all of these as my comps, so I'm going to include all. So we want to make sure that we have the check marks in each one of these properties. I like to sort them based off of the status. I want the actives at the front and the solds at the bottom. So I just redid my order and system doesn't like something about it. Let's go back. Control V. Well, guess what? I'm gonna start over because somehow I got somewhere in there, something didn't look right. Create my new one, seller, continue. I am going to use Century 21, 56 pages, continue, test, create. Appreciate your patience while I'm redoing what I just did. Multiple listings found. Oh, I know what I did. I'm sorry, guys. I needed to go to the next screen. I'm going to select MLS. Okay, something is not liking what I'm doing here. Enter MLS numbers. All right, now I'm going to include all of these. And now I'm going to hit continue. And now it's going to start giving me the data that I have selected. So here is the subject property, and here are my comps. Okay. And notice the order is inaccurate. I'm gonna, because they're ordered sorted by this, I'm gonna change this to actives to solds, and it's gonna reorder them to where my one active is gonna be here, and then my pendings are gonna be down through here, and then ending up with my sold properties. Okay. Here's where you can do some interesting little things. You can access the details here. Remember, we had, when we were selecting our comps for this particular property, we said that this home, which was literally right a couple of doors down from my client's property, this is probably my strongest comparable because it's literally 2 doors down. It's almost the exact same size. It's almost the exact same layout. It's almost the exact same square footage. Everything is very, very similar to this with one exception, and it's this one. Finished basement. My client's home does not have a finished basement. Okay, so typically I recommend that you don't necessarily make adjustments because you're not an appraiser. But because this community, both of the two strongest comparables that I've got, this one on Gateway Boulevard and this one also on Gateway Boulevard, both of those have basements. So I have the ability to make an adjustment on these. So notice you've got the add edit adjustment. I'm going to make an adjustment based off of basement. And this particular Gateway Boulevard 5713 has an unfinished basement. So I'm going to say based off of an unfinished basement, that is probably worth about $15,000. So we would subtract $15,000 from this property because it has a basement to be able to compare it to ours that does not have a basement. Make sense? Get some heads nodding north and south. Everybody make sense with that? So we hit confirm. And now the price that I had originally done and had it compared at 423 is now going to go in at 408. Okay, makes sense? Let's look at the other one, this Gateway. This one is the other property that is very, very close to my client's comparable, but again, a finished basement. This one's finished, the other one was unfinished, so the value might be even a little bit higher. So in here, I might want to make an adjustment for finished basement. This one, I'm probably going to adjust about 25,000. And it has to be a negative in front of it because you're reducing it. Confirm that. And now we see, where did it go? Now we see it went from 402 down to 377. Is all this making sense, everybody? Okay. I have selected my comps. I've made my adjustments. I've got some analytical data over here that summarizes the averages, the highs, lows, averages. And then for each individual property, I'm going to hit continue. This is where I am determining this is the estimated pricing based off of the comps that we selected. Here is where I tell my client what I think his home is worth. This is where you're going to tell your client what you think the home is worth. Okay. Have no idea where that number came from. I wouldn't trust it, but we'd already decided that we thought this was 390 to 410. So I'm going to create a range, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go 390,000, not 390 million, to 410,000. Sorry, guys, I'm still having a hard time with numbers today. All right, and then we're going to hit continue. And this is where we would select the pages that we want included in this. But if we had the template, we would also have selected the template early in that process. Okay, so this one's just going to give us the full 56 pages, but you could come in here and say, you don't like this. We give 121%. This is a kind of a title slide that really does nothing in your presentation. I might want to decide, you know what, I want to leave it off. I'm just going to remove that from my slide, from my presentation. Okay. And if you're done, you're done. You can hit view and you can go to the web version of this. And now we're looking at our presentation. Pretty cool, right? Okay, what questions do you have? Did I lose anybody? Is anybody confused?
I have a question.
Okay.
So would you send the link to them before you meet with them, or will you print it off, or do both?
Great question. Okay, so there's a couple of ways that you could do this. Okay, you could send them absolutely nothing, show up, and you're going to end up going through your entire slide presentation. One way to do it is you could do, remember we talked about the templates, the 3 templates that I had created in there. One is the full presentation, one is a pre-listing presentation, and one is just the comps. What you might want to do is when you set the appointment to go out to your listing appointment, send them the pre-listing presentation with no comparables in it. All it is all the fluffy, this is how I propose to work for you. This is my marketing plan. And then when you get there, you can say, hey, I sent you a bunch of information. I don't know if you had a chance to look at any of that. If it's okay with you, I'll just cover a couple of the highlights. And then you can kind of go through some of those fluff slides very quickly if you want to drive home the points that you want to drive home, answer the questions that your client asks. Then you can just get, then you can focus primarily on just the comparables. Make sense? And then after you're done with your appointment, you send them the link to the comparables, and that's a live link. And, so like some of those homes that were pending or active, if they check it again in 3 weeks, those properties will show with the current status as of today. So like there were 3 pendings in there. If all 3 of those have sold within a month, they're all going to be 3 closed listings when we pull up that same CMA and look at it again. Okay. This also can help you whenever you're, after you've won that listing and you're having an ongoing conversation about how the listing is going, you can pull up your CMA and show them, okay, well, when we initially listed, these were all the homes that we compared it to, and there were 3 pendings, and now there's 3 have sold, and now you can look at those numbers and have a much more realistic number. Make sense? Okay, other questions? All right. So does this help give you just a little bit of familiarity with Moxi and make you feel a little more comfortable? I was a little nervous when I started doing this. It's not difficult, and the menus that help you drive through this are very easy to do.
Hey Jay, so I think you already said this. The basement, when you did 15,000 or 25,000,
Yep.
that was just from your expertise, right? Or did you
experience? There's not a quick reference guide that I could point you to that would know exactly what those numbers look like. That's why I was a little reluctant to even talk about it today, because it's not something that I typically would recommend that most people do. This particular property was one that I couldn't find a good comparable in the same subdivision that didn't have a basement that was exactly the same as mine. So I kind of was backed into a corner of having to do that adjustment. So I did with what my experience has been. You're not going to have that as a brand new agent. So that's why we have brokers on call. That's why you have peers, and where you can ask questions like, what's a typical finished basement versus an unfinished basement cost? Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everybody. That's all I got for you today. Have a great day. We're 2 minutes early. Can you believe this? That never happens. All right, everybody. Thank you. Have a great day.